Before we begin, take a moment to support the channel. If you're interested in real crime stories, unsolved disappearances, and cases that still raise questions today, make sure to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Now, let's begin.
In the early hours of June 7th, 1992, in the quiet city of Springfield, Missouri, an event unfolded that would haunt investigators, journalists, and true crime researchers for more than 3 decades. It began as an ordinary summer weekend, warm air drifting through open windows, teenagers celebrating graduations, families winding down after long days. Yet by sunrise, 3 women would be missing without a trace. The story begins with 2 recent high school graduates, Suzanne Susie Streeter, 19, and her best friend Stacy McCall, 18. The girls had spent the previous evening attending several graduation parties. They planned to spend the night at various friends' houses, switching locations throughout the evening as gatherings shifted. But as the night stretched on and exhaustion set in, they made a last-minute decision. Instead of staying with friends, they would go to Susie's home, a small, tidy house on East Delmar Street, where Susie lived with her mother, Cheryl Levitt, a 47-year-old hairdresser known for her kindness, discipline, and devotion to her daughter. At some point between 2 o'clock and 2:30 a.m., Susie and Stacy arrived at the Levitt residence. They were tired, still dressed from the night's celebrations, and likely planning to sleep in before heading to a water park the next morning. Evidence inside the home showed they made it safely. Their clothes were folded neatly, jewelry placed on the dresser, makeup removed, and cigarettes positioned near the bed. Everything suggested 2 young women preparing to sleep. But when friends arrived later that morning to pick them up, the house was silent. The front door was unlocked. The porch light's protective globe was shattered, with glass scattered across the steps. Inside, the family dog, a small terrier named Cinnamon, barked anxiously. The women's cars were parked outside. Their purses, containing money, keys, and cigarettes, were left untouched. There were no signs of a struggle. No screams had been reported. No neighbors had noticed anything unusual. And yet, all 3 women, Susie, Stacy, and Cheryl, had vanished. What happened inside the Levitt home that night would become one of the most baffling mysteries in American criminal history. 3 people disappearing simultaneously from within a residence, with no physical evidence left behind. It defied logic, challenged investigators, and spawned countless theories. Abduction? Burglary gone wrong? A targeted attack? A professional operation? A serial offender? Or something else entirely? As minutes turned to hours, and hours to days, Springfield police realized this was no ordinary missing persons case. This was something far more disturbing. A disappearance so sudden, so complete, and so inexplicable that even seasoned detectives struggled to define what they were dealing with. Tonight, in case file number 10, we revisit that haunting June morning. We examine the chilling timeline, the perplexing clues, the investigative missteps, and the theories that continue to divide experts. Because more than 30 years later, the Springfield Three remain missing. Their fates unknown, their stories still unfolding in the shadows of unanswered questions. 3 women, 1 house, no witnesses, no evidence, no explanation. It was as though the earth had opened and swallowed them whole. And more than 30 years later, the question still echoes through the Midwest. What happened to the Springfield Three? In the first 48 hours of the investigation, police worked under extreme pressure. Missing persons cases involving a single adult were already challenging. A missing child was urgent, but 3 adult women, vanishing from a home with no forced entry and no noise heard by neighbors, was uncharted territory. Detectives quickly zeroed in on the small details left behind. Cheryl's bed appeared used. Her cigarettes, which she never left home without, were still in the house. Susie's jewelry had been placed neatly on her dresser, as if she had removed it before going to sleep. Stacy's clothing from the graduation night party lay folded on the floor, replaced by an oversized t-shirt she intended to sleep in. Every clue suggested the women had settled in for the night, unaware of any danger. But the clues grew stranger. The porch light globe shattered. A friend who visited the home early that morning attempted to clean it up, accidentally destroying potential evidence. The front door was unlocked. The dog, a small Yorkie named Cinnamon, was unusually agitated, pacing and barking nonstop. The blinds in the living room were bent, as though someone might have peeked outside. Several witnesses came forward claiming they had seen a green van in the neighborhood around the time the women disappeared, a van repeatedly described as old, dirty, or suspicious. One witness described a blonde woman, believed to be Susie, being driven by a man in the van. But this story was never confirmed, and the lead soon evaporated. And then came the phone calls. 2 disturbing messages were left on the answering machine early that morning. The content of those calls has never been fully disclosed, but police described them as sexual in nature and potentially crucial. Tragically, the calls were accidentally erased by one of the friends visiting the house, an irreversible loss of evidence. The investigation expanded. Police interviewed hundreds of people, classmates, co-workers, former boyfriends, ex-husbands, neighbors, employers. Rumors of stalkers, jealous partners, and disgruntled clients surfaced. Dozens of suspects were examined. None produced solid leads. Mistakes began piling up. The house was not sealed off immediately. Friends, family members, and well-meaning volunteers entered the home repeatedly that morning, unknowingly contaminating the scene. Fingerprints were smudged. Objects were moved. Floors were walked over. What could have been a pristine crime scene became heavily compromised before detectives took full control. Despite this, investigators pursued every path they could find. Highway patrol units searched mile after mile of rural roads. Local media broadcast daily updates. Volunteers scoured lakes and wooded areas with search dogs. A local businessman donated billboards. The faces of Cheryl, Susie, and Stacy became known throughout the entire Midwest. But with each passing day, the clues thinned. Detectives knew that statistically, after 72 hours, the chances of recovering missing persons alive begin to plummet. And as the early days slipped by with no breakthrough, the case shifted from hopeful recovery to chilling mystery. Answers were not coming, and the shadows were growing deeper. 30 years have passed since that quiet summer morning when 3 women vanished from Springfield. Over that time, the case has evolved from an active investigation to one of America's most enduring unsolved mysteries. A tragic symbol of how people can disappear without a trace in a world full of witnesses, cameras, and law enforcement resources. Theories continue to swirl. A targeted abduction, a crime of opportunity, a stalker, a stranger, a killer still living freely in Missouri. No theory has ever been proven, and none fully explain how 3 people could be taken so silently, so cleanly, and so permanently. The Springfield Police Department still receives tips. The files remain open. Modern forensic technology continues to advance, offering faint hope that one day, through DNA, digital reconstruction, or ground-penetrating imaging, the truth may finally surface. But for now, the disappearance of Cheryl Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall remains one of the darkest puzzles in American criminal history. 3 women vanished from a quiet home in the heart of Missouri and left behind a legacy of unanswered questions that still echo across America. Their story remains frozen in time, an unsolved tragedy that continues to haunt investigators, true crime researchers, and families longing for closure. The Springfield Three left behind a house full of clues, a community full of fear, and a mystery that remains as cold and silent today as it was in 1992. Until someone speaks, until someone comes forward, the truth remains buried. 3 lives were taken by silence, leaving behind questions that time has never answered. Susie, Stacy, and Cheryl disappeared, but their names, their faces, and their stories remain with us. This video is a reminder that they are more than a mystery. They are people who mattered and still do. Until the truth is found, we remember, we speak their names, and we refuse to let them be forgotten.
If you want to keep uncovering the mysteries that linger in the shadows, don't forget to subscribe. Your likes help these cases reach more investigators, and your comments might just be the clue that leads to the truth. Stay curious and stay vigilant.